Welcome to From Betrayal to Breakthrough. I'm Dr. Debi Silber, and today's guest is Dr. Michelle Eggenberger. And Dr. Michelle is an author and holistic stress and anxiety coach, doctor of Oriental medicine, licensed acupuncture physician, health coach, and certified 800-hour yoga teacher of both Kripalu Yoga and Dharma Yoga. She became a regular presenter on national television, bringing the best of natural medicine to Guatemala. She's also been on national radio programs and inspired people to be happier and healthier with her program, Sundays of Awakenings. In 2018, The Difference Press published her book, The Energetics of Joy, Natural Rebalancing Secrets to Stop Stressing, which became an instant bestseller. Dr. Eggenberger has had successful practices in the U.S., Australia, and Central America, and now coaches people all over the world on the art of living a stress-free life. And you're about to meet Dr. Michelle, and she's going to share her story of betrayal, the symptoms it left in its wake, what she did about it, and what it led to. Betrayal can definitely keep us stuck, but it can also be the launchpad to creating the most magnificent body, health, and life. So you're going to hear how Dr. Michelle did just that. Here she is. Okay, so I am so excited to share with you Dr. Michelle today because she's going to be talking all about joy. And you may be thinking, joy, that's the last thing I'm experiencing after my betrayal, but she's going to show you how to get there. She's incredibly talented. She's so credentialed in so many different areas of expertise, and I'm just so excited to share her with you. So welcome, Dr. Michelle.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me here. I am so excited and so grateful to be here sharing with you and with all of your listeners all this knowledge that I want to share with them.
Oh, I'm just so glad. So let's just get started. What started you on your path?
Well, I was also going through a very challenging in my life, going through a very challenging moments in my life. I used to work in advertising, so I was very, very busy all the time, very stressed. I didn't have a lot of time to, meet people around. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to, try to deal with life, as busy as we know how life can be. And I was dating somebody at my advertising agency as well. Unfortunately, me too. I went through a whole deal with betrayal. The person I was dating was a very charming man, but a very womanizing man. And I had to go through that experience of, suffering through having this person not be faithful constantly, and having to deal with that stress. That stress pushed me into start looking for alternative things. I started looking for ways on how I could deal with all these emotions that I was experiencing.
And let's just stop. And before you even go forward with that, let's just stop. What kinds of emotions were you experiencing? And at the same time, what kinds of physical symptoms were you experiencing because of this?
Well, emotionally, I was going through a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of even, I could say, self-hatred, I didn't understand. I didn't feel good enough. Why was this happening to me? Why wasn't I, being loved I was loving this person? Why wasn't I better than other women out there that he was doing this with, And I kept thinking, if I only better myself, if I can only change the way I look or the way I dress or the way I act, maybe that will change, maybe that will make him change.
And Dr. Michelle, and before you get to the physical, it's so important. I want to stop you right there. That's one of the biggest damaging factors with betrayal, because then we start thinking with romantic betrayal that if I were more, whatever, and it's not even about us. And I want everybody listening to understand that it's so hard, when there's a betrayal of, let's say, financial betrayal. Yes, it still is so painful, but there's something about when it's romantic betrayal, we take it so personally because we instantly compare ourselves to someone else. But time and time again, and in my research, it is shown over and over again, it's the betrayer's lack. It's what's missing in them. It's not about us. So all of the searching that we do to try to look better, feel better, be better, if you're doing that for your own sake, that's one thing, but don't do it for the sake of somebody else because it wasn't about you in the first place. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. Okay.
Absolutely. And I think that's like you touched on this, and I will talk a little bit farther about this, but absolutely. Like at that moment, I could not see that it wasn't about me. I could not see that what he was experiencing and how he was acting had nothing to do with me. And I think one of the reasons why when we have a romantic betrayal is so powerful in our own self-worth and all that is because of the vulnerability factor, when we're in a romantic relationship, we open up, we become so vulnerable. So it touches parts of ourselves, but what is really important to understand is it touches parts on ourselves that need healing from before. From even before, it will touch on things that we haven't even seen within ourselves from before. Okay,
absolutely.
Also, what was so beautiful was that, as you know, and if you don't know out there, like the connection with the mind, the spirit, and the body is huge. I'm a doctor in Oriental medicine. I'm a life coach and a yoga teacher. And one of the big reasons why I went through this is because of this whole experience. While I was going through all this stress and all this anxiety and all these emotions, I started to get sick. It became with me being, having colds. Then it became with this cold never going away, and it became bronchitis, and then it became asthma, to the point that the doctor said to me, Michelle, for the rest of your life, you're going to have to be taking steroids. And for the rest of your life, you have to take an inhaler. And by that time, I wasn't even 30. And I was like, this can't be. I have to find another way. I have to look for another way. So a friend of mine told me, well, why don't you try acupuncture? So my motivation for change and for search was mostly the physical change, because usually it's easier to start with the physical. When I was saying like, how can I make myself better? I started thinking about like, I want to lose weight. I want to do my hair. And if you see that's one of the biggest things that us as women have when we're going through transition is like, let's change our hair. Let's change. And it's part of the change and it's part of the transformation because the physical is a way to going within. It's an easier way to see the change physically and then go through the deeper stages, right?
Well, like it's easier to change your outfit than change your mindset, absolutely.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
So at what point did you, at this point, when you were having all of these physical challenges, did you tie it to the betrayal at all? Did you think that it had anything to do with the betrayal or not yet?
Not yet. I knew that I was not happy. I knew that in the relationship, because although I had betrayal going on and I was sustaining it and being there because I loved this person so much that I didn't want to let them go, even if they were not, they were continuously betraying me, and because my mindset back then was like, what is it that I'm doing wrong, So the beautiful thing is like I started doing acupuncture. A friend of mine said, why don't you try acupuncture? So I started doing acupuncture. And once I started doing the acupuncture, I started physically feeling better. But there's a big connection with the body and the mind as well. So when my body started getting better, and I'm going to tell you something really interesting. In Chinese medicine, every system, we call them system, like let's say like the lung system, or the kidney system or the liver system, all those different systems, we call them systems, not really organs, but systems because they have different functions. They all have an emotion, right? And the emotion of the lung is sadness, it's sadness. So as I was doing through the physical, changes, and I would, they would put the needles on me and I would start crying and all that, my body started getting rebalanced And then my mind and my spirit started to grow balanced again. So I started looking for Eastern philosophy. I found yoga. I started finding meditation. And slowly, I started finding the strength to understand my self-worth and my self-love and the need that I needed to do to step out of that relationship. That relationship was no longer fit for me.
And I want to ask you, and just to interrupt, so many, one of the most common symptoms I see, besides the emotional, the physical, of course, extreme fatigue, things like that, but digestive issues. What's the emotion that's tied to the digestive system?
Well, the emotion of the digestive system is overthinking. Okay? It's overthinking. And a lot of times when we're overthinking, we start damaging the system of the stomach and the spleen, but also not digesting your reality.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Not digesting what is. You know, we usually, and that's a big thing, and that's one of the big reasons why we suffer, not just in betrayal, but in everything in our lives, is not accepting life as it is, you know? When we have expectations of things, of our partners, you know, of our job or things, and many times we have expectations that are not even ours. What I mean with this is expectations that we learned from when we were little. You know, our relationship should look like this. Our partner should do this. My job should look like this. And we haven't really become aware of is this really true? And the reality is that not all relationships, not all lives should be the same because we're unique individuals. So when we're living our life and our life doesn't look like the picture that we were sold to, you know, and we have difficulty digesting our reality, one of the biggest issues we'll have is stomach issues.
Okay, that's so important because when you say that, digesting our reality, and it's so true because it's such, I mean, the most common words we hear with betrayal, I feel like I got the wind was knocked out of me. I feel like I got punched in the gut, and digestive issues like Crohn's, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, just constipation, diarrhea, any gut issue seems to be, I mean, that's one of the most common things that I see. So let's go back to the acupuncture. So you were saying as you were just having acupuncture, you would have these big releases and it would sort of unlock all of these emotions?
Yes. When you're working with energy, right? Like we've talked about the body, the mind, and the spirit. And when we're talking about, a lot of times people think that energy is all this woo-woo thing, you know, but in reality, your body needs energy to process the food, to keep your body warm, to all the functions of the body are produced by energy. Now, there's different levels of energy, from the densest form, which is like food, to the most subtle forms, which is our, you know, thoughts, breathing. All that is different types of energy that we take in the body. So one of the ways into releasing the emotions that are happening is by using the body as a way of changing, of getting that energy to move. Every time that you experience a negative emotion, a negative thought pattern, you will create chemicals in your body, right? So if you get stressed, you will release adrenaline and cortisol in your body. Our bodies are, you know, created with the capabilities of balancing those these emotions and going back to center, right? To balance. However, if we're experiencing this over and over and over and over and over again, the body starts getting depleted, right? It starts becoming kind of like not able to process all these emotions. So the more adrenaline, the more cortisol that we process in the body, it will have an effect on the hormones. You know, it causes something now is more people know it, which is adrenal fatigue, right? Adrenal fatigue will create an imbalance in the hormones. Now, when we're using acupuncture, we're moving the subtle energy in the body. There is pathways in the body that when we put the needles in each part of, like, there's different specific points that have an exterior-interior relationship with the body, meaning from the exterior we can actually helps the interior, like the systems and the organs, move and release this energy. And when that starts happening, we start having emotional releases as well. I had, for example, a patient of mine that she had been diagnosed with different discs in her back, a lot of disc problems in her back. She needed surgery. That's all they had told her. She came to me. And the first time we did a treatment, we started using the back points. And one of the points that I used was the point of the heart system, of the emotions. As soon as I put a needle there, she started crying. And she cried the whole session. And not because of the pain she experienced, but just the release, the release of all the things that she had been carrying, all the things. And the transformation that she had actually was so impressive, because it was not just a physical transformation, like her physical pain got better. She started walking again, exercising again. But she had a huge transformation in the way she approached life, and she showed up for herself.
And you know what? And what's so beautiful about this is, on the downside of betrayal is, here where our emotions have just been slammed, and emotionally we feel so awful, and mentally we're so confused. There's this mental chaos, confusion, overwhelm, and then the body responds with all these physical symptoms. So not only are we dealing with the pain of the betrayal, but all the symptoms that go with it. But here's the connection on the other side, where now, yes, the body and the mind are so exquisitely and so intricately connected that as you start looking at it, saying, okay, the body is holding on to these emotions, and when I carefully and I'm willing to dive into some possibly, alternative therapies that you may have ruled out, you can release these emotions that were tied to the painful experience.
Absolutely. Like, our bodies are such beautiful, beautiful miracles. We're a walking miracle, Debi. We are so perfectly done that our body, when we haven't been taking care of our mind and our emotions, our body will tell us. Our body is constantly trying to tell us what's going on, right? So let's say that, you worked, you're working and you get like headaches, and you're constantly getting headaches, and you don't realize that you might be overworking yourself. Maybe you're not eating well. Maybe you haven't dealt with all these emotions, and your body is going to tell you, stop. It's time to deal with this. It's time to heal this, So when you're able to work with your body in this way, it will have an effect on the mind and the spirit. But one of the things that I do work with my patients and my clients as well, I have clients that are not here where I am. I'm in Orlando, Florida. So I work with people internationally too. And there is other ways, like yoga, like breathing techniques and all that, to help move the energy of the body.
And I was going to ask you, I wanted to, and I'd love to dive into yoga. Tell us about how yoga can, of course, we know the physical benefits. Tell us, if you can, go into some of even the different types of yoga and the mental, emotional benefits of it.
Well, physically, yoga, what we know, like in the United States as yoga, is usually the asana practice, or the physical practice, right? The postures. And those were created in order to help the body keep healthy, release all these emotions, get the body function properly. But the core of it the aim was to calm the mind, so you can go into meditation, okay? That's the real aim of yoga. So the asana practice, the physical practice that we see, it feels great because it does all these things. It cleans your lymphatic system. It helps your intestines move. It calms the nervous system. So all these things. So like I'm saying, when your body's running properly, a healthy body will produce a healthy mind, right? So sometimes if your mind is so challenging, like going into me, trying to help your mindset might not be enough. That's why sometimes you have people that, have gone through betrayal. It happened to me. I would go to the psychologist or the therapist, and I would go there and we go over and over the thing, and I would not see any benefits really. Like it would feel good for a little bit, but I wasn't getting any tools or anything better because physically my body was not balanced.
It's
right?
stuck in the cells. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
if my body is depleted, if I don't have that, it will affect my mind. Now, when we do yoga, we're helping the body go back to that balance. Now, the second part is one of the things that happens when you start doing yoga as a real practice, you start going into the mind-heart connection. And that's where the real magic happens for everything, That's where the real transformation and the real healing happens, When you start becoming aware, becoming mindful, doing meditation. A lot of people think it's just me sitting there and my mind's going to go blank. It doesn't happen like that. I'm sorry. And that's why a lot of people say, I don't want to do because when I sit down, I just see more thoughts. The reality of it is that when you start going and calming your mind, yes, you will see the thoughts that you actually have. It's not that you have more thoughts. It's that you start seeing the thoughts that you have. Okay.
So Dr. Michelle, talk to us about that mind-heart connection because it is so powerful and that's where a huge amount of healing happens. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Definitely. So in Chinese medicine, for example, we call it Shenmen. And we talk about the mind-heart connection because a lot of times we think, we think about mind as, willpower. And, when you're going through a challenging situation, many people will tell you, like, just go, get over it. Like, just, ignore it, move it. You're strong. If you don't deal really with the mind and the heart, the emotional part, we're not just mind, we're not head, right? And we're not just emotions, right? Because the emotions are created by our thoughts. Every time we have a thought, that thought will create an emotion. And that's the mind-heart connection. So when you start becoming aware of your thoughts, circumstances in your life will happen. You and me will have circumstances. So what happens with terrible circumstances? And then some people get devastated and some people come out like the phoenix, right? What's the difference from the same circumstance? The difference is the thoughts. It's the thoughts that we create that will create the feelings that we experience, that will create the actions and the reality we see.
Right.
Okay.
Thoughts are things, everyone. And I know it sounds hard to imagine because we're saying, how could something that we don't see manifest into something physical? Oh, but it does. And if you want to know what your beliefs are, take a look at your life because your life is a complete representation of the beliefs you hold. So your current beliefs, your current thoughts got you to where you are right now. And if you're ready and willing to change those thoughts and move past the betrayal, and let's say you're swimming in that victim stance, and you want to move forward, what Dr. Michelle is saying is be very aware of your thoughts because the mind and the heart are so intricately connected. That's powerful. Dr. Michelle, so tell us, bring us back to now as you were healing from your betrayals. Tell us, so you started doing the acupuncture, you started noticing a change, you started seeing how you were healing from your own betrayal because of it. What did that lead to for you?
Well, that led to transformation of my whole life. That actually drove me when after a year, I was no longer taking the steroids. I was taking no inhalers. I had walked away from that relationship. I was no longer smoking. And I really started realizing, oh my goodness, if I can do this for other people, if I can share this with other people, that's what I want to do. So I went back to school. I got another bachelor's. I had a bachelor's in business and marketing. I got my other bachelor's in health science. I got a master's in oriental medicine, became a licensed acupuncture physician, started doing yoga, teaching yoga. I wasn't like, I wanted to teach yoga for my patients when they came. I started doing that. because they would become very attached to the acupuncture and to me. But what I really want to do is give you the tools. I think it's very powerful when we become when we have the tools and have the understanding to know that we can change our lives, from our health, from our mind, from our bodies, from anything, that we are the architects of our own destiny. You have that power. Even if you're having struggles, even if you're going through a difficult time right now, please know that you can change that completely, and you can be in a beautiful relationship. You can be in a romantic relationship, be it in a business relationship, and it all starts with you believing in yourself. And one of the things that I do with my clients, is the first step is to cultivate self-love and kindness, because from there we can change everything.
And that's something that's so often just missing. I just want to make sure everybody hears this too, that I so appreciate what you've done with here. You noticed that something was helping you heal, and you dove in deeper and you started educating yourself on it. And it's like this snowball effect. And I mean, that's exactly what I did. It was to understand my own betrayal. I went back for the PhD program, and it led to the study and the discoveries and a completely different life. And we have every right to sit there and stay stuck if that's what we choose to do. But we have this, but look what happens when we take that experience and when we use it for fuel to do something positive with it. Look at the amount of people that, besides ourselves, the bigger calling is to help others because of what we've experienced. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done.
Absolutely. Like, Debi, one of the biggest things that we are all here, we're all here for a purpose, and sometimes challenges will, if we're able to move through them and learn from them, can slowly guide us to where we're supposed to be. I had never, I didn't even know what an acupuncturist was. I didn't even know what a life coach was, I had no idea what that was. You would have asked me, I had no idea. But through that pain, through that challenging, and going through my own transformation, and my own work, because it is work, it is work going through this. It's trusting work. It's learning how to love yourself enough to say, you know what? I will go through this. I can do this. And I will take one step at a time, and move forward, one step at a time. Find the people that can actually support me,
And the word I use every single time with this is willingness. It's a willingness to dive in and do the work. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it will change you. It will transform your life. And that's exactly what you're sharing. Dr. Michelle, what do you want to make sure everyone knows before we wrap up?
Well, I think one of the most important things, like I was saying before, is that when things challenging happens to you, right, you have a choice. You have the choice to choose yourself, to choose yourself enough that say, I am worth a happy life. I am worth a good relationship. I am worth being loved. And it starts by doing that for yourself. When you start knowing that that's making that decision in your life will change everything else. Like I said before, when I started doing my changes and when I was going through my challenges, I was doing changes that from the outside seemed positive. I was losing weight. I was taking care of myself, of my physical self, right? But it was coming out of a place of self-hatred or self-doubt. But when you start really cultivating that love for yourself, like kindness for yourself, all the changes that you will make will come and will come from that place and will be long lasting and will have an effect not just for yourself, but for everyone else in your life. So know that you have the power. You are the architect of your own destiny, and things can change. And by cultivating not just the physical, not just the mind, by the spiritual being, you can really, really manifest the things that you truly want in your life.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you're a living, breathing, walking example of someone who's done just that. Dr. Michelle, where do we learn more about you? Where do we go?
You can go to the energeticsofjoy.com, or you can go to dharmaclinicfl.com.
Beautiful. I want to thank you so much. I know you shed so much light and wisdom today, and you helped so many people who are maybe struggling with whether it's physical, mental, emotional symptoms, but there is a way out. They're all connected. There's no mistake that one thing leads to another in a downward spiral, but in an upward spiral too. So thank you so much for your contribution today.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much for creating this beautiful space for all the people out there that need the help. And thank you for allowing me to spread some of that, the love and the healing that is my mission to do. So thank you so much for having me.
Don't you love how Dr. Michelle used her experience to heal herself and also used it as the catalyst to help other people too? I'm always so impressed with people who've taken their obstacles and turned them into opportunities. I'm even more inspired by the ones who then feel a calling to share what they've learned with others. Stay in touch with Dr. Michelle by going to theenergeticsofjoy.com, and we'll have all of her information in the show notes at pbtinstitute.com/podcast. Here's my biggest takeaway. The body and mind are so interconnected. Take a look at every physical symptom you have and try to find what experience, trauma, or negative emotion may be tied to it. There's no mistake how this works. Emotions can create illness, and they can create health too. Explore healing opportunities, even if they sound out of the box. Those are usually the ones that traditional experts are afraid of because it may pose a perceived threat to them. But if it feels right to you, it's because it probably is. Trust in your inner wisdom, which knows way more than your ego. Speaking of symptoms, are you struggling with a few? Find out what may be lingering by taking the quiz at pbtinstitute.com/quiz. And let us support you. Go to Facebook and join our group, Women Hacking Betrayal, where we give information, tools, and support to help you move forward and heal once and for all. Can't wait to be with you next time. And here's to your breakthrough.